Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here with the Raptors Digest, here to give the game reaction to the Raptors' 116-107 win against the Memphis Grizzlies. Ryker, another great win for the Raptors.
Yeah, it was a tough-it-out victory, but we ultimately clinched the W, and
yeah,
I mean, fairly characteristic fashion for the well, perhaps non-characteristic, but like of late, it's something that we've come accustomed to. And I feel like it was the tenacious defense that really won us the game in the fourth quarter. But, I mean, we started off pretty slow, if you want to tell the listeners about that.
Yeah, so we went down early. It was basically the whole first half, and most of the third quarter we were fighting back the whole time. But the first quarter we went down. I think our greatest deficit was, it had to be about 17 points.
Yeah.
17 points, yeah. So it was a rough start for the Raptors. They kind of looked a bit slow. Oddly enough, Serge Ibaka was keeping us in the game somewhat to start the game. I don't know. And as we've been harping on all these podcasts, Serge Ibaka started shooting in close, right? He got a couple buckets from the mid-range spot in the paint, and then he stepped back out to the three, and the threes looked really good.
And we love to see it. We love to see that style of play.
Mm-hmm. Serge, when he has rest, when he has a bit of rest, he looks like a phenomenal player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, you said it yourself. He sort of looks, or when we have too many back-to-back games, he gets pretty slow out on the court. But he was actually, him and DeMar, until the fourth quarter or late third quarter, they were the only players in double digits. So Serge was definitely the shining light of this game. For sure. Just trying to tie us. Go ahead.
Speaking about Serge and DeMar, did you see the interview of DeMar DeRozan post game?
No, I didn't catch it.
Post the Suns game, he said sometimes Serge looks 38 and sometimes he looks 28. So fun to see them taking Serge's age as a somewhat of a joke.
Yeah. Now we kind of tread away from that topic, but what? So you're saying you've seen a 28-year-old Serge today, and I think I've seen the same. It was
sure.
He was playing smart. It was really good. Another player that played out of his mind today, OG, our god.
Yep.
Tell me about him.
OG, it does not always show up in the stat sheet, right? Like, OG only had 8 points tonight, no rebounds, no assists. But he does so much. Like, in the offense, he doesn't need anything called for him. But when he gets the ball, he just does something great with it every time, whether it's a great pass or hitting an open shot. He's just the perfect player we need to complement DeMar and Lowry.
Well, him and Van Vliet are really the smartest players on the entire Raptors squad, and that might be like a bit of a controversial statement, but we have Van Vliet,
Lowry, and DeMar maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of pressure on them to constantly perform, so they make mistakes. I mean, we'll talk about it in the OG's moment of the game, but sometimes very questionable decision making in terms of shot selection from DeMar and Lowry. But we talked about Van Vliet's stats in previous pods, so he's playing really well, just statistically smart. And then if you watch the games, you can see how well he's playing. And OG, he's actually, as a rookie, which is very impressive, he's averaging a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, which is something that like rookies very rarely get. They normally are just so caught up in the heat of the game that they'll toss wild passes, but he's just such a smart player. His IQ is incredible. So I mean, as we see him develop and play more minutes, today was the most minutes that he's logged in his career in a game. So he's going to keep on growing and turn into Kawhi Leonard and better.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and he's going to get more and more minutes because he's not supposed to come back from that ACL surgery till he was supposed to around mid-January, right? So he's probably not 100% right now. So you can see his bounce in his step. He's getting quicker almost every night. So it's just awesome to see OG, his progression, even through this first half of the season. And a stat here with continuing on the topic of OG, the starter's net rating before Norm Powell's injury was a negative 9.4, right?
Okay.
Once they inserted OG into the starting lineup, it went up to a 4.2.
Wow.
So that's
speaks for itself.
Yeah, he's just a great player to have on the roster.
I just want to mention before it slips my mind, I'm so happy because the classic backdoor cut, the backdoor pick is back. I mean, they didn't convert. DeMar got hacked, but it's nice to see. It's nice to see our backcourt duo.
Yeah, it's unstoppable. They have to hack a DeMar or to stop that dunk. But right. You also mentioned Fred as well. You can't not talk about Fred for a little bit. He started off the game a bit slow. And most of the time when you see players, their first half, they don't do too much. They play a bit tentative until they get going in the second half. Yeah. That wasn't the case with Fred. He came right in, down by 2. Raptors needed a bucket. Just fired up a 3. He had 3 perfect, timely threes in the second half.
As Leo said, onions. He's got the nads, the gonards. But I think
Jack
we can
Armstrong.
Yeah. Oh, shit, yeah, that's Jack. I think we can even bundle it up into just confident point guard play this game in terms of like consistent 3-point shooting. We had Lowry that was playing phenomenal this game as well, making important 3-point shots. Same thing with Fred. They just were both.
Lowry hit 4 tonight.
And how many did Fred have? 3?
Fred, check.
He had at least 3. Mm-hmm. So anyways, my point is, even if they're missing their shots, as long as they don't get frustrated and they're confident to take open ones, then that's really the key to the Raptors' success. The 3-point shooters like Siakam, I mean, it's if he's open, it's nice to see him take a 3-point shot. But like the players that can shoot very well, such as Lowry and Fred, when they're on, they're on. And this game, it really brought us back in because the third quarter, we really were going back and forth. Like we couldn't catch any grounds. But then once we tightened the defense, and then also the shots started to fall. I mean, the fourth quarter was just entirely ours the entire time.
3 is the key. 3 is the key. Now Fred had 3 threes, 3 for 6 shooting.
Yeah.
So
50%. That's great. That's good.
Yeah, and before we get into the segments, we just want to talk about CJ Miles. He didn't have a big game tonight. He didn't play that much.
He didn't know.
8 minutes on the floor, 0 for 4 shooting from 3. CJ Miles needs some run. You can't expect a shooter to go out there and be ready to fire it up without getting in a little groove. So
if he's cold.
We need to manage his minutes better.
Okay, overall then, let me get your take on Dwayne Casey's performance in this game, because clearly it benefited us, like some of the rotations at least, given we won the game.
Yeah.
Handily in the fourth quarter, might I add. But we did that through pretty well making Ibaka and JV ride the pine for the end of the third and most of the fourth. So do you like what Dwayne Casey's strategy was this game and putting out the bench players for more minutes in late game? Or do you think that, that's something that he should probably stick away from?
I like what Dwayne Casey's trying to do, because Dwayne Casey, a big negative that everyone talked about Dwayne Casey for the past, his tenure with the Raptors is his unflexibility, right? He wouldn't try new lineups. He'd stick to his guns. He'd stick to Luis Scola starting at the 4. He'd stick to John Salmons in a playoff series when we have a guy like James Johnson, right? So that was always a big thing with Casey. But he's trying out different lineups this year, and I like what he did. So he took out at the first, as you mentioned, he brought out JV and Serge in the middle of the first and the third, right? To see how the bench units do. Because for most of the season, Serge has been great as of late, but most of the season, the bench bigs have outperformed our starters. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So it's cool to see Casey toying with these lineups, seeing what people work well together. So I don't mind what Casey's doing. I just like to see CJ Miles on the court because he hits a lot of threes.
Yeah, he needs more time. However, we can't argue with the outcome of this game, so if we can see him integrate some more minutes and then still get the victory, then we'll be very happy campers. All right, swinging over into our OGs play of the day. We have one from Memphis, of course, very obviously, the missed 360. Don't even need to talk about it. That's embarrassing, but I'm gonna bring
the run for the Raptors.
Yeah, it really did.
And McLemore's.
You know what? I didn't even Funny enough, I didn't even know Ben McLemore was still in the league. I don't get to watch Memphis's games very often, and I thought he just disappeared after Sacramento. So, but better yet, our OGs play of the day for the Raptors. OG himself was an OG, but he started the start of this play. He went for the dig on Marc Gasol, went to the ground in a great hustle effort, passed it back, the full court lob up to DeMar, and then on the fast break, DeMar decides to pull up for three and bricks it hard, might I add, an air ball. And very questionable decision making. Very uncharacteristic for DeMar to not attack on a fast break, given that's his bread and butter. So we have all this hustle from OG, our god, to make the fantastic play and give us the opportunity for DeMar to take a fast break, pull up three, and miss it really bad. That was the OG's head shaker play of the day.
I was very confused on that play because you rarely see DeMar take a three, especially above the break, but he just came down and took it in transition.
Yeah, it was weird. All right, Ben, the play of the day. Still looking for a name. Play of the day.
Yep. So the play of the day here, keeping on OG. We mentioned he's looking healthier and healthier. Well, at the start of this game, he came down with a steal and just had a ridiculous dunk. He gets so much lift on his jumps. If you watch him in his highlights from college and just seeing the last few games, man's got ups.
He really does.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's if you watch his college mixtape or highlights, that one play, I think it's like probably his best play in college, was where he drives straight down through the key and then just rises for the slam. I'm not even sure who it was over, but just ferocious attacker. So it's nice to see him comfortable enough to take.
Yeah.
I guess get some elevation.
For sure. Once he gets that lift 100% back, recovering from that knee injury, I'd be scared for the rest of the league.
I'm scared for the rim.
Yeah,
scared for the backboard. Don't want him to pull a Shaq. All right, last segment. The infamous, the one and only DeMar Carroll Gold Star Award for worst performance. I was gonna stick with OG for all three segments. He had a bit of a rough go defense-wise in the third and just trying to guard the perimeter players. He got caught with a couple shooting fouls. One that, who was it, Tyreek Evans hit a three-pointer and one. But, I mean...
Tyreek got him twice this game.
But he erased that in his overall hustle. I mean, OG just played really well. So not giving it to OG. I'm instead giving it to Memphis, their team, in the fourth quarter. They threw up a stat banner on the screen during the game with about 4 minutes left. And the Raptors in the fourth were shooting 70% from the field. Memphis was shooting 18% from the field. That's atrocious for their team. Amazing for the Raptors defense. The Memphis, as a unit, gets the DeMar Carroll Gold Star Award.
Yeah. Nah, it was... Yeah, it kind of... Because we started off the game, and Memphis was just hitting everything. And you knew that wasn't going to keep up, considering Memphis is not a very good offensive team.
Well, they shot almost 75% in the first quarter.
Yeah, so it was a weird game to start, but the Raptors came back and took it over and got the 116-107 win.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well,
Riker?
that's it for me, Ben.
Yeah, that was a good win for the Raptors. Everyone, thanks for listening. Let us know your thoughts on the game in the comments, and we'll be back for Sunday's game.
Later.
Thanks.